G'day, welcome back to another Arts Reignited Nature Tour. Just wanted to talk about this plant. It's a really good plant to keep those nitrates under control in your fish tank, giving you some optimal water conditions for your fish. It's called Pothos, and there's a few different varieties of Pothos. I've got here the common marble queen Pothos and the Swiss cheese Pothos, also commonly called the Monstera Pothos. Eventually, once you put a cutting in there, it will root into the water and work its way down to the substrate, and it will require a bit of trimming just to free up some space for your fish. The roots start off like that, and then eventually they sort of spider web out and take over a bit. But the more the more of those little fine roots that come out, the more absorption of nitrates you tend to get as well. I've done tests where I've used these API test kits, and I've monitored the water conditions before and after, and there is quite a significant difference using this plant, as well as other things to take into consideration, like amount of stock that you have in there. The size of the tank can help as well. But overall, this plant really changes your water quality by improving it. I've even got some up in this top sump here, just a fresh cutting I put in there a couple of months ago. It took a little bit of time to settle in. Started to grow out a new leaf there. This is the Tetra tank, which has a slightly lower pH than most of my other tanks. pH 6 to be exact. I'm just wondering if that might be the reason that Pothos there took a bit longer to sprout more leaves. It's got two there. It only started off with this big one here. This is just a Pothos root, which I put in a jar here near the window, and I thought that it died because the little leaves that it originally had started to die off, but it's growing back, just showing you the resilience of this plant and how adaptable it is to different environments. This is just another example of a cutting that you can just put in your top sump, especially if you've got one of these sort of all-in-one kit tanks where you've got the light and the sump built in the design of the tank. I just, this tank here, I just drilled a couple of holes in the back here because I wanted to put a second planted sump in there, and then I'll just sort of put that Pothos here, and you can see that it's just loving the water there and it's creeping up towards the grow light there. Another thing I found with these Pothos plants is that if you have too much light, it tends to burn the leaves as if you would be growing them out in the sun, direct sunlight, so they do not like that. They don't like direct sun and they don't like overly bright light. I'm using these small little $20 lights from Bunnings. They're not overly bright. I don't know offhand, but I think they're about 3,000 to 4,000 kelvins. And they're growing Pothos really well here. This is just another cutting that's I'll put in a jar here. It's growing a new leaf. This is your lime Pothos, which I'm trying to grow up this stake here. Coconut fibre stake. But yeah, as it grows up there, it'll just become really nice and bushy there. And you just have to keep tying it back on as it grows. Just reassure the stake stays wet as well, so the roots are drawn into it. This is just another little plant pot hanging project that I've got outside, where I've just put two Pothoses side by side. So hopefully they're going to grow out and just sort of hang over there and create a bit of coverage there. This is a very bad example of pothos that's sustained sun damage from being in the sun. This plant was hanging outside just over there, but it didn't work out with the sun, so I've moved it back in the shade, and now it's started to grow back some nice new leaves. This plant's on its way of having a full recovery after some very nasty sun damage. And you can even see the vine here's got some new nodes coming out, so hopefully some new leaves as well. So if you were to actually just cut that there and plant that, you would find that would grow back. Like I said before, this plant is just very resilient. This is just another example of just a pothos root that I just threw in the soil, and it's starting to grow a leaf back. There's another one here, it's marble queen pothos. This is lime pothos. This was just a cutting that had one leaf. Now it's growing multiple leaves out the side. I can't remember the exact name of this species of pothos. Please comment below if you know what it is, but it's rather a variegated coloured type one. It seems to be growing a lot slower than the other species of pothos that I have, but it has these lovely white and green leaves. So once that gets a little bit more established, I'm planning to propagate some more of it. This is some more of that Swiss cheese pothos, which I've put in a larger pot here to try and get it to grow a little bit more bushy. And I've also just put a cutting here in the Platy hybrid pond system, and it's started to grow roots in there, as you can see, keeping the nitrates under control. This is just a pothos that I've wedged into a piece of poly pipe cutting that I zip tied there. The roots are starting to come out nice down to the substrate. It's liking that little bit of shade there with a tiny bit of sunlight. But that's about all you need. Any more than that, especially direct sun, you'll find that it'll just burn the plant. Just down here we've got another cutting of lime pothos. It's got some little baby leaves coming out. This one was absolutely effortless on my behalf. I literally just had a cutting, didn't even plant it properly, just threw it in there. And as you can see, the roots have found their way down to the substrate, or down to the potting mix. And I neglectfully didn't even water it. And it's just been getting natural rain here out near the pond. And look at that, it's just growing back crazy. So there's proof right there that this plant is really resilient. And if you do throw cuttings away in your garden, you will regret it, because it'll just grow back and it may even take over your garden and become an absolute menace. It has been known to happen, but in this case I've just thrown it in a pot so it can't go anywhere. And hopefully it'll just sort of overcrowd that pot and just take over and carpet it a bit too. It's Cebu blue pothos. It has slightly more pointy leaves. And from what I've been researching, when this plant gets large, the leaves actually split. They split into like comb-like shapes. This one tends to grow a bit slower than your common marble queen pothos, which is this one here. So I'm keen to see it in a few months when it gets a bit bigger. Just a picture there of the Cebu blue pothos. And you can see that when it gets big, the leaves do split. I've never tried this one in fish water. I'm sure it would be fine. But once I get a little bit more of these growing, I'll propagate some and try it out. This one here is trying to escape the pot, but I'm not going to allow that. I'm going to keep it contained in there until it it's too big, and then put it in a larger pot, much like I did with the Swiss cheese pothos over here. This little fella here is a Swiss cheese pothos. It was just a node that I cut. And when you do cut the nodes, I'm not going to do it because I don't want to separate any of these plants, but if you wanted to propagate that and repot it and grow another one, you'd snip the root right there. Well, sorry, not the root, but you'd snip the plant there between these two nodes. These two nodes here, you'd snip it right there, and then you'd plant that part with these air root nodes. Plant that part into the soil, or into your fish tank, or into your water supply, wherever it's going, and it would root in there and grow into a new plant. So essentially that's what I've done with all of these pothos plants, to create more of them and get a lot more of them growing without having to spend more money. It's a very cost-effective way to do it. You'll save a lot of money with time and patience doing it, and I highly recommend it to any fish keeper if they're trying to keep those nitrates under control. This is a bottled wine. Well, it's actually empty now, thanks to me. But as you can see, this is a piece of pothos with no leaves. It was an offcut from the Swiss cheese pothos. I was going to throw it out. I put it in some fish water, and as you can see, the root nodes are re-establishing, which means this is still alive. So if you were to even throw this in your garden, not thinking that it's going to grow, it would grow back and it could become invasive in your garden. But in this case, I've just put it in some fish water from when I did a water change in the goldfish tank, and it's starting to grow back there, and eventually leaves hopefully will re-emerge from here. I've seen it done before, and I'm sure it'll do it again. And I've done the same thing with another cutting here. And you can see those tiny nodes are starting to come out. The top will rot, that's normal. As the plant decays, it promotes growth as well. Well, when you trim plants, it also promotes the growth of pothos. Yeah, I really enjoy this plant, and I've never had any bad luck with it. I've even neglected it completely and not watered it, and it somehow survives. This tank here, this fish tank here, I've never changed the water, ever. I've only ever done top-offs. I'm sure the TDS is very high, but that is apparently, when I looked it up, TDS can be quite high in some of those real brackish Amazonian environments. So I'm thinking it might not be a bad thing for these fish. So what I'm going to do is make sure that these two naughty culprits, there's three actually, there's nitrate as well, those three naughty culprits are zero. So what we're going to do, I'm going to extract some water, and we're going to start doing a test and just see if they're at zero. Just going to put some droplets of ammonia test first. These API test kits are amazing. They practically have the instructions written on there, and they're made over in America. Very good quality chemical reactive agents. I highly recommend API when it comes to water testing supplies. This is just the nitrite one, just 5 droplets. once you've done the droplets, you give it a shake to get it to change to that reactive colour so you can get your result, and you compare this against a chart which is supplied. So this one I just had to do off camera for a second, just because I'm doing the usual waffling on and one-handing phone while talking about nature, because it's 10 droplets, so it did take me a while. So I thought I'd use 2 hands. Yes, I should be using the tripod, but it's one of those days, isn't it? So the first one is the ammonia. As you can see, it's yellow, which is 0. Second one's nitrite. It's the same colour as 0 ppm, which is what you want. Next one's nitrate. Nitrate's the final conversion of the nitrogen cycle. And it's yellow. So they're all 0. Yeah, so that's just proof that Pothos does work, and even just this little cutting is helping. Like, yes, I do have a large sump here with a lot of biological effects going on here, especially these Dynax media rods. They tend to house 1,000 times more bacteria than these cheap Aqua One noodle rings or the Seachem Matrix, which I have here. But yeah, it's a good example that using Pothos can help with your water quality. I could test all these tanks to show you, but I'd be here forever using up all my test kit. So I reckon if you're concerned about your nitrogen cycle, before you decide to add some Pothos, make sure you don't have too many fish, too much stock. Make sure you've got some good deep gravel to allow that biological bacteria to grow. Of course, decent filtration. Sponge filter's fine, as you can see here. I've just added a Dynax media rod on there, just to give it some extra biological growth. And then add your Pothos, and recheck your water results from before and after, and if you notice a difference, you know it's working. As well as the fact that this plant just aesthetically looks very pleasing when it grows out of the top of your tank. And this one here, I'm just using a cheap Sun. They're called Sun. They're made in China. They're 25 bucks. This one I think was nearly 50 because it's a longer one. They start at about 25 bucks. They come with an on-off switch. Some of them are USB powered, and they always come with a power adapter, one of these. And that's growing all of my plants, including the Pothos, very well. You don't even need expensive lighting to grow it. Just like in here, I've got one here which I put in here, but the leaf has died. And most of the time it's just due to you moving them. They sometimes don't like being moved, but the roots are growing back. After they've rotted, you can see they've emerged new little roots, which means this plant's still alive and it will return. Also in winter, in the colder times of year, this plant will grow a bit slower. It's a tropical plant, so it loves humidity, it loves that summer heat. I just really love these plants. I just can't get over how well they work. Anyway, thanks for hearing me waffle on about plants this time. This is Artistry Ignited. Tune in again soon.